Hello folks, welcome to the Tech channel. We are going to continue our JavaScript tutorial using FreeCodeCamp website. So continue from where we stopped in the previous lesson or previous tutorial. Let's navigate directly to the tab to these lessons, number 41 where we stopped last time. And this lesson is going to introduce different syntax of the for loop, specifically to manipulate this result variable here. And we are going to use const instead of let because the variable will not be reassigned to a different value. If you remember, we called here let to assign this variable to a value. We used let here because we reassign this variable to equal new value every time we call the loop. But in this example, we are not going to reassign the value of this value, so we'll use const instead. This is asking us to declare loop here, for loop here, and this example here. Then we need to use variable called value of rows, or variable called row of rows. So this is a single row from this list of rows. And then let's just try and check your code. Congratulations, your code is passed. Submit the changes and move on to the next lesson. In this lesson is telling us, similarly to the previous example, that we use plus to increase the I value, like 1, 2, 3, and so on. And as well, we can use the same approach to add a string to exist string using this syntax. For example, hello equal to hello plus then world. Similarly, is asking us to assign here this result or updating the result value by adding the row value, for example, by assigning result inside this bracket here, equal result plus row, and then check your code. Congratulations, your code is passed. Submit the changes and move on to next lesson. 43. Here where we can add a break line. So for example, if you want to add a break line inside a text or a string, you can add this code. So for example, we have line 1 equal to line 1 plus break code, then line 2. So that would be line 1, line 2, and so on. And here it asks us to add this new line or break line at the end of this here by adding a plus, then backslash, and then n. So now if you see that, so before adding this, let's just remove this again. This is all it was in one line, but if you need to break this in a new line, each one to be in a separate line, you can add a plus, it's called concatenation as well. Then double quotes, backslash, n will break this, and every index will have a separate line. So now check your code and submit the changes, and that's passed now. And this lesson 44, instead of I, we are going to push character to this rows. So character which is assigned to hash. Instead of this I, just change it to character, and then check your code. Congratulations, your code passed. Submit the changes. Now as you see that instead of 0, 1, 2, 3, we have a list of hashes. So now we can repeat list of hashes instead of I or instead of indexes, but to build a pyramid, so this hashes doesn't look like a pyramid. Instead, we are going to choose one of the string method. It's called repeat. For example, if you need to repeat, like this example, code, we can use this example to have an initiated variable called code. Then use the method repeat, dot repeat 3 will be repeated 3 times. So it's asking us here to use the same method to the character and to be repeated I time. For example, first line will be repeated 0, next line will be repeated 1, and next will be repeated 3 as well, and so on. I will represent the index of the element, and that will repeat the hash multiplied by the number of the indexes. So by adding that, let's just use dot repeat here. Character dot repeat, then semi or parentheses, and then I add to the number of that will start from 1 hash, 2 hashes, 3, and so on until the end. And check your code. Boom, congratulations, your code is success, submit the changes. And in this lesson, basically, we'll explain that the first line doesn't repeat it because always will start from 0, and if we need to repeat 0 item, that will not repeat the first one. To fix this problem is asking us to increase I by 1, but not this I here, but the I here in this repeat time, and instead of I will be I plus 1. You can see the changes that will be reflected here. And we'll start from the first element. So instead of to be empty, we'll add first line, we'll add 1 hash, and we'll repeat the next line until the end. So now if you check your code, congratulations, your code is passed, and move on to the next lesson. In this lesson is introducing function in JavaScript, and also telling you what function is. Basically, it's a block of code that you can reuse it every time. And now we have the ready code that to build a pyramid. Maybe we need to repeat this code multiple times to build like a really good shape pyramid. In this case, if we need to repeat the same code, we can use a function for that. And at the end, will ask us to declare a function is called bad row, which is camel case syntax. If you remember, we learned how to declare a variable using camel case syntax. And also to declare a function in JavaScript, we will use a function keyword as well instead of let to declare a variable. For function, we'll use the function keyword. Then you will add the function name. In this case, this example being called name, but for our case here, the new one is going to be called bad row. So let's start by calling function, and then the function name is being called bad row. This parenthesis, then curly bracket, and also we can pass parameters through a function. Parameter basically, if you want to pass some value down to the icon or whatever you're running inside the function, then you can pass through the parameter. For example, this parameter here, we can pass any value when we call the function, and this value will be used inside this square bracket. Anything running inside this square bracket can access this value. So by now, just let's check your code, run the code, congratulations, your code is passed. Just submit the changes and move on to the next lesson. And in this example, we will show you how to call a function in JavaScript. So for example, if we want to call this function we created in the previous lesson, we can just call the name of that function, which is the name is going to be called bad row. You can call it here, then add a parenthesis. So it's called parenthesis. And the end here is how we can call the function. Check your code. Congratulations, your code is passed. Submit the changes. Move on to the next lesson, which 49. And in this lesson, also will explain to you that function in JavaScript will return a value if you return anything inside that function, or if you assign it to a variable, will return a value. For our example here, is asking us to assign the row or the bad row function to be called, and then let's run the code. To declare a variable, we are going to use const because it doesn't identify what to use const or let. In this case, we are going to use const, and the variable name is going to be called equal to the function that we just created. Check your code. Congratulations, your code is passed. Submit the changes. And in this lesson number 50, is asking us to log out the variable that we declare for this function. Then here, let's add a console log. And we need to log out the variable name, which call, add it here, and add a semicolon at the end of this console log, and check your code. Congratulations. Your code is successfully run, and submit the changes. And this will move on to the next lesson, which is 51, and this is going to be the end of this tutorial. Thank you for watching, and see you on the very next tutorial.